Hey everyone, and welcome to This Explainer. I've got to tell you, I am incredibly excited to dive into today's topic because we're looking at something that is literally rewriting the rulebook for the modern workplace. We've all seen the headlines, right? AI getting smarter, faster, capable of doing things we couldn't even imagine 5 years ago. But what actually happens when that tech collides head-on with human livelihoods? Well, today, we are breaking down a totally groundbreaking judicial decision out of China that tackles this exact tension. It's setting a massive legal precedent on AI and job security. So here's the question we're all secretly asking ourselves. Can your company legally replace you with an AI? It's the ultimate million-dollar question, isn't it? And look, this is no longer sci-fi. It's an urgent, everyday reality. Whether you're working in data analysis, customer service, or middle management, this taps right into our deepest anxieties about where the global economy is heading. Today, we're going to see exactly how one major legal system just drew a firm line in the sand. Okay, let's quickly map out where we're headed today. First, we'll look at Zhao's legal battle. Then we'll unpack Article 40. After that, balancing innovation and jobs. And finally, we'll zoom out to look at global AI law. Right, let's jump straight into part one, Zhu's legal battle and the very real human cost of AI. To really grasp the impact of this ruling, we have to meet the actual human at the center of the storm. Meet Zhu. Back in November 2022, Zhu stepped into a super specialized, pretty demanding tech role as a senior quality assurance supervisor. His day-to-day, absolutely critical. He was basically the human safety net. His job was to match user queries to large language models and rigorously filter out anything illegal or sketchy. He was the guardrail keeping the whole AI system from going off the tracks. But here's where things take a turn. As Zhou is doing his job, the company's AI is, of course, rapidly evolving. Eventually, management looks at the numbers and decides, hey, the AI is good enough to handle this without human oversight. But instead of transitioning Zhou to a new role, they slap him with a massive demotion. They wanted to drop his salary from a comfortable 25,000 yuan a month all the way down to 15,000. I mean, that is a devastating 40% pay cut. So naturally, Zhou refuses. And the company's response? They moved to fire him, tossed him a severance package, and chalked the whole thing up to organizational restructuring. Well, Zhao didn't just quietly pack up his desk. He fought back. He took this grievance through the Labor Arbitration Commission, escalated it to the district court, and pushed it all the way up to the Hangzhou Intermediate People's Court. Now, this was not some quick overnight process, but here is the wild part. At every single level, the decision was unanimous. The courts unequivocally sided with the worker. Which brings us to the ultimate outcome, and it is a big one. The Hangzhou court declared Zhou's termination completely unlawful, and they didn't just give him a pat on the back, they ordered the company to pay out well over 260,000 additional yuan in compensation. The message they sent? Absolutely crystal clear. You cannot just cast workers aside the second you buy a shiny, more efficient algorithm. So, how did they legally justify this? Let's move to part two, unpacking Article 40, and the legal reasoning behind the decision. The whole foundation of the court's reasoning actually rests on Article 40 of China's labor contract law. Basically, this provision says an employer can only terminate a contract if there's a major change in objective circumstances that makes keeping the employer around genuinely impossible. Now, historically, we're talking about massive, completely unforeseeable events here. Think sudden natural disasters, a total economic collapse, or a forced government relocation. And this is where the judge's logic is just brilliant. The judge explicitly wrote that implementing AI is a deliberate, voluntary business strategy. You do it to gain a competitive edge. It is not a natural disaster. It's totally foreseeable. Because of that, it absolutely does not qualify as an objective circumstance to justify firing someone. Basically, the court said, look, you can't just shift the financial burden of your tech upgrades onto the shoulders of your employees. If you want the perks of innovation, you've got to manage the human cost responsibly. What's really fascinating here is that Zhou's case isn't just some random one-off. We are literally watching a new legal framework being built in real time. This victory joins another huge precedent from late 2025 in Beijing, where courts protected a data collector, surnamed Liu, after an AI automated her role away. The courts aren't just sitting around waiting for years for new legislation to be drafted. They are proactively interpreting existing labor laws to protect people right now as the ground shifts under our feet. Okay, let's zoom out a bit for part three, balancing innovation and jobs, and looking at the macro economy. To really get the stakes here, you have to look at the sheer scale of the playing field. By the end of 2025, China's AI sector valuation blasted past a staggering 1.2 trillion yuan. Tech giants, tiny startups, they're all pouring absolute fortunes into automation and large language models. But the government? They are walking a razor-thin tightrope. They desperately want to lead the globe in AI innovation, sure, but absolutely not if it causes mass youth unemployment or destroys the social safety net. They are demanding progress, but they are demanding stability right alongside it. So this ruling essentially creates a totally new reality for businesses. To be clear, this is not a ban on AI. Companies are still fully encouraged to get more efficient, but they now have a strict set of new corporate responsibilities. If you bring in AI, you are now expected to offer things like transition funds, put skill upgrading programs in place, actually create hybrid human AI roles, or at the absolute bare minimum, provide highly responsible and generous severance. Which perfectly sets up our final section, global AI law, and how the rest of the world compares. When you compare this globally, the contrasts are huge. Right now, China is taking a highly unique, very firm judicial stance that specifically targets job displacement and protects worker transitions. Now, contrast that with the United States. The US maintains a pretty hands-off approach right now. AI displacement is still mostly just a topic for endless legislative debate. Meanwhile, over in the European Union, they've rolled out massive, comprehensive AI regulations, but their primary focus is heavily skewed toward things like ethics, data privacy, and algorithmic transparency, rather than direct job protection. There's this fantastic summary from a prominent labor law professor who analyzed all these rulings, and I just love how they put it. They said, these decisions strike an elegant balance. They protect the dignity of work and the stability of families without stifling innovation. That right there is a phenomenal reminder. The true measure of our technological progress isn't just about flawless code or maximizing the corporate bottom line. It's really about how effectively we, as a society, can uplift the humans operating behind those machines. So, I want to leave you with a critical question to chew on. As algorithms continue to rapidly reshape the entire global economy, and let's be real, potentially your very own industry in the next decade, will your legal system step up to protect the human behind the machine? Because honestly, it is shaping up to be the defining economic challenge of our time. It is a massive, complex topic, and the ripples from this are going to be felt for years, maybe decades, as we navigate this wild new frontier of human and artificial intelligence. Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer, and hey, for more, visit our website, Fair Solution.